Redneck Computer Geek here, and today we're going to be retro-modding kind of this 1855 White GT. Basically, I didn't get a hood, the seat was trashed, fender is kind of what it is, and it's missing some parts. The battery tray is missing, the gas tank is missing. So we're going to be retrofitting a few things in order to get this up and running so we can use it this winter. Later on, we'll be mounting a plow to it. Now the problem is, ever since the original video, and I'll post a link for that down below, I have not run this. It has sat all summer. We're going to hope that nothing goes wrong with it, or that sitting ended up releasing something or whatever. Now, this was sitting underneath a tarp tent out in front of my house. Luckily, we got it moved into the garage in order to work on it just before a hurricane force wind came up. If you'd like to go and see more on that, I'll post a link to that subscriber update over on my secondary channel, RCG Racing. Well, let's get started. I'm going to grab the camera and we'll talk about what we're going to do here. Let's talk about the machine as it sits right now. So the machine as it sits right now, we've got the 18 horsepower Briggs & Stratton on it. And I wanted to show you guys this sticker on the side because I love this argument when it shows up online. So here we are, summer, SAE 30 or 10W30, winter, SAE 520 or 530. If not available, use 10W or 1030. There we go. Now, we had a running engine. We're going to work on double checking that really soon here. And I figured out that I can fit a battery over here and leave the original front PTO clutch assembly in place. Because that front PTO clutch assembly actually does have a working cable and everything. And this, the bearing in behind it is still good. The splines on it are still good. So I actually have a splined snowblower attachment for a Boland's hidden away. So maybe we could put that on it later. This needs to be rebuilt. The bushings are obviously shot, but at this point, we can work with it. Now, back here, and this is where the whole RestoMod thing comes from. The gas tanks on these haven't been produced in many, many years, and the chances of actually getting a hold of one are slim to none. No ifs, ands, or buts. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this modern day MTD one, and we're going to side mount it into here, which will also put it just barely above the carburetor. And the reason for doing that is that these carburetors are notorious. There we go. So this carburetor here is the 3-hole pump version of these carburetors, and 3-bolt, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3. And these are notorious for blowing out. And basically what you do is you turn it into a pass-through carburetor in order to be able to run it by gravity feed. Now, if the pump is working, gravity feed shouldn't do anything to it. So we're going to see if we can get it up and running. For those of you who are new to these types of engines, this is your choke, and this is your throttle coming in. And I love these engines. They're really solid. These opposed twins I like. The vertical shaft opposed twins, as far as I'm concerned, they all should have been in Cracker Jack boxes. So, what we're going to do is we're going to use the original rear fenders. We're going to modify it a little bit because this unit currently has what are studded tires off of a truck. They're actually the exact same size as a 4-liter Ford Ranger. They are 235/75/15s. And somebody was kind of half in between stuff on this. So, yeah, we need to go through and figure out what's going on there. So the fender isn't bolted down, but that's okay, because we're going to end up pulling that fender off and we're going to repaint this entire thing. Now, I'll give you a hint right now. The color of what we're going to repaint it is in this view here. Somewhere in this screen is the color we're going to paint it. And we need a hood. The answer is this. This is a hood for a GT5000. I actually ended up turning the original GT5000 this came off of into the mud mower that my girlfriend drives called Bouncer. She calls it Bouncy. I call it Bouncer. And so we've got that seat, which should easily unbolt, and then we measure out and we put the brackets in. And the reason why I want to use this Craftsman hood is because Craftsman's, it doesn't matter whether the machine was made in 1988 or whether the machine was made in 2006 or, you know, whatever. They all have the same exact pivot mount in the front. So if we grab it back here and we lift it up and we come down here, they all have the same exact pivot mount. So I have a 1988 Craftsman that is out on my junk pile, and we're just going to go out there, we're going to take that Craftsman and we're just going to slice it just in front of where the exhaust port is. So we're going to take it right there, we're going to slice it right off of there, and then we're going to graft it onto the front of this, making sure to have enough room that the PTO fits, but yet close enough that the hood makes it all the way back through and touches on there. The other thing we're going to have to do is that hood does not clear the PTO engagement, and the hood also does not clear the forward, neutral, and reverse hydro control. So we're going to have to monkey with that a bit in order to make that work. I also do not like this. This just screams painful to me. So I'm going to figure out a way to maybe cut this off and rethread it and put some sort of knob on it or something. I'm not sure. Something like that. And so we'll go from there. We'll see what we can do to restore this thing, RestoMod style, and get it up and running. We got our push plate here cut off. So this sits on a Craftsman like this, and this is where the pivots are that universally that they end up using for the hood. Now we've got a problem, and the problem is this is 16 inches from here to here. On our Craftsman hood, this is 14 inches. But if we come down just a little bit further from here to directly to the other side, the hood comes out enough that this is 16 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure from 16-inch point here to the other side of this piece of tape here, which is where our pivot point is in the hood, if we look in underneath. So there's our pivot point. And then we're going to measure that on that tractor, starting from right here into this direction, and see if we can put that where the hood will line up. Okay, so we got our bracket in place. We'll take our bids now on whether we managed to get this in the right place the first try. Now, do keep in mind, I'm expecting it not to fit where the hydraulic controls are and where the PTO control is. Well, I would say that won't look too bad once I get it to drop down where it's supposed to be. So I gotta get it to drop down where that PTO control is, which shouldn't take too much. I'll probably just take this and take this line and just curve it around there. That'll be easy to do without too much issue. And on the other side, yeah, probably the same basic idea, because I need room to be able to go and shift through there. And this needs to go that way, and it's going to hit. So probably cut right in there and then down, and then maybe bend this out a little. We'll see. Now, I know not everybody has a plasma cutter or the availability to get one, but recently I had a chance in order to try a Cut 50 at my friend's house. Take a look at this picture. On 220, it slices through 1/2 inch without any issue. I'm going to be upgrading to one of those as soon as my discontinued Hobart wears out. But I just figured I'd share that with you. I'll post a link down below. You can get them on Amazon now for about 200 bucks. I've got 2 friends with them. Both of them I'm very impressed with. Just passing that on. There we go. So that is on. I need to figure out something slightly different on the shifter, which shouldn't be too much of an issue. There's no reason I can't come out with it and then up a little bit. Basically just take this and inverse this handle. That won't bother me. Maybe going into reverse, I might hit my knee a little bit, but hopefully I don't have to do much in reverse. And that should clear that, especially if I use a pin through here in order to be able to bolt this in. That's what I'm probably going to do. I'm probably just going to drill straight through, put a couple of rubber washers, and then go through there. Something really simple. As it is, it fits a little bit loose, so I need to come up with a way to make it a little more solid, but it should work for now. The other thing that I've debated at this point is I do have the original dash and potentially cutting the original dash so it fits on this area. But what happened is I was overly conservative with the height that I set this front piece at. So if we look here, I set it just a little bit too high. I should have been about 1 inch lower. If we see our line that we were working with, we wanted to be lined up with the top. So we're about 1 inch too high. But ironically, that worked out because these would have ended up hitting. So it's not perfect, but it should work for what we're doing. I think at this point, we probably should get the battery, get the gas tank, and get the motor running. You might think doing the hood first was a bad idea, except for what I needed to know was whether I was going to have no clearance or a ton of clearance. I ended up with a ton of clearance in this area that I can work with and be able to put in my gas tank. And that changes things on how I may or may not mount a gas tank. I could potentially put a Craftsman gas tank in underneath this, where there's more than enough room to be able to put a cap right here and have it come down around it. So what we've got here is the original switches. We've got somebody already went through and removed all the safety stuff in this. So this is nothing more than just an on-off. That is lights. That is a kill toggle. That is choke. What's interesting is they're wired in with double pole, double throw switches. I've never seen anybody do that before, because usually those switches cost like 3 or 4 times as much as a regular switch. So I think I've got it wired in the way that it's supposed to be, judging from what I could find. And so we'll set you back here, give it a little bit of go-go juice, set the choke, and go from there. Now obviously I don't have a gas tank on it right now. We're just seeing if we can fire it up if we've got everything figured out. Cool. Alright, we're going to add a gas tank now. Ever have that moment where you swear something touched you? I was trying to go and get to that in order to pull off that piece of fuel line because the bugs got to it. Could have sworn something touched me. Right there. There's that little bugger. He can go find a new home. Anyways, the reason why I was after this was because, yeah, that wouldn't have run very good. So we're going to get him to go find a new home and replace that line. Alright, so we'll pull the choke. We've got gas in it, as you can see, in our little MTD gas tank that we just retrofit there. And let's see if it'll do anything. Well, I heard a little bit of a backfire. Let's see if there's just enough in there to go in. Just a drizzle. See if that'll give it what it needs. Meow! 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 Is this what the problem is? Huh? Did somebody spoil you with these? Is that what the problem is? Oh, where does it go? Oh, this? Oh, it goes in there? Meow! There. Now leave me alone so that I can shoot people video. Alright, we're going to call that the end of day 1. I've probably got somewhere close to, I don't know, probably about 5 hours into this idea at this point. So, as we are right now, we've got the back end figured out. We've got the boards off, the running boards and everything. If you wanted to see how this lever worked, this lever comes down here, and in underneath is where the adjuster is. So I got to go and get in there and start figuring out getting that adjusted correctly. This has a piece missing. So from here to here, there should be a rod just like this one going across. So I've got to come up with making a rod for that so that the lift assembly actually works correctly. I did notice the lift assembly is bent here, but I'm not overly worried about it. The only thing that I think I'll end up using that lift for is for a plow, and so we'll see what happens there. So on the hood, what I've concluded at this point is that the angle of this coming up through is just inside of this. And I've got some old plexiglass kicking around. So I think what I'm going to do is take the old plexiglass and using the original dash. I've got the original dash here, which is this. I'm going to take that original dash and trace it out, cut it a little bit on the big side so that I can come up and over and have this come down onto it. And then I can probably rubberize the outside edge of the plexiglass, and that should hold it steady. Because as it is right now, it bounces around way too much, so I've got to do something. But I think that is probably what I'm going to do. The other thing about doing plexiglass here is that it's really easy to put toggle switches in the future. So if I decide that these are irritating and I don't like them down here, in the future it would take next to nothing to put them up here. This piece here I have out. I've got a bunch of stuff off so that I can paint it right now. And I'm going to show you how I reconditioned these later in the video. So at this point, we've got these off. And if you ever go to take these off, that is very easy to get to on one side, and it is a highly inappropriate, not YouTube legal to say term on the other side. And vice versa. On one side, that is really easy to get to, and on the other side, it is an inappropriate term. And they alternate, apparently. So we took off the runner boards here because we're not using the original seat, remember. So we lined up and cleaned out that, and that, the mounting holes. And we're going to grind all this down tomorrow, and we're going to paint it up. That's the seat that we're going to put in place once we get everything figured out. It's easily adjustable. It's off the GT5000 originally. And that's the dash. And if we come back here quickly, we'll see that we've got the lid for the engine all painted up in aluminum silver Rust-Oleum paint, one of my favorite colors. Got the dash piece there. And I'm not worried about an amp meter. It's not wired in, but we'll probably just throw it in there just in case we decide to wire in something else later. Maybe we'll use this for winch controls in the future. And we got all the bolts and stuff settled out and painted. Day 2, getting everything ready for paint and stuff. We've got our palm sander there. I really like that cheap one that I got off of Amazon. And so this is what it looked like. This is what it looks like after hitting it with a nice solid bristle brush. And so we're going to palm sand this down. We're going to have to go and find a 2x4 and beat that so that it is square like it ought to be. And right now what we're working on is clearancing this back area here, because the rear tires that are on this are definitely way bigger than the originals. And what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to run tire chains on them. So there's about this much space between here and the tires right now. So I need about that much space to be able to run solid tire chain. So clearancing that right now. Then we're going to start painting everything up. On the dash over here, I have started cutting out the plexiglass piece that's going to go here. Let me go grab that. Sorry to haul you guys all over the garage here. So here's our piece of plexiglass. And if you've never worked with plexiglass, my biggest statement that I would say is just grab a piece and start cutting. It cuts like high-end plywood. It's really strong plywood. Anything that'll cut that usually will cut plexiglass. You just want to smell as you're cutting that you're not about to go and burn into it and melt it. So that's going to go something like about right there. And then we'll paint everything up. There we go. Right now in the video is where I'm going to ask you at the end of day 2 to please tag your purest friends. You know the guys that I mean. The guys where if it's a Cub Cadet, it better be Cub Cadet yellow. Because if you were to go and paint that tractor anything like purple, then you would be doing an atrocity to the world. So guess what? If you got tagged in this, you might be one of those tractor people that just doesn't get it, that we're saving tractors, we're keeping them out of the landfill. This thing was heading to the junkyard, and instead it's going to spend years working and continuing to do what a tractor was meant to do. So make sure to go and find that purest friend of yours, the one that goes psycho when a John Deere isn't green, when a Cub Cadet isn't yellow, and when Craftsman green just isn't quite green enough. Have at. Alright, so we're on day 3. We've got probably about 12 hours into this, and we've got a ton of parts currently painted, some primered, some whatever. And we're just going to go over the steering wheel enough in order to bring back a little bit of its color. Day 4. I've probably got close to 12 hours at this point into this project, and John is here helping me today. John, what are you going to be doing?
Using Super Clean cleaning the seat.
So he's going to try out the Super Clean Wheel Shine product on the seat here. And I know this isn't a seat, but one of the old school tractor tricks is using tire foam cleaner in order to clean up the rubbery type surface that's on seats of this nature. Hi, Fuzz. Fuzz, are you going to help clean the seat? So, yesterday there wasn't much to film because basically it was just letting paint dry. So here's this with 3 coats worth of paint on it. I did a high build primer and then 2 coats worth of red. That one there has 2 coats on it, and that has 2 coats on it. If you're looking for what color red we used, it is Sunrise Red in Rust-Oleum. You can order this by the case directly off of Amazon, which is what I really recommend. The other way to pick this up and get it cheaper is deliberately check AutoZone for their daily buy 2 get 1 free whatever type deals, and they do Rust-Oleum product about every 2 weeks or so. At least once a month they'll do a week of buy 2 and get 1 free or something along those lines. So there's that. The other side to this project that we got to is we got the dash put back in, and that's in place. We got to put a knob on there, and we've got this all painted up and all working. That's all nice and painted up. And we came across an issue. So these tires are way bigger and way wider than the original stock tire setup. So right now that is almost touching. And if I move this to where it would be almost touching, I am almost hitting on either side. So by the time I get the pins and everything in, it's going to hit. Because that pin's got to go in there, and there's not enough room between here and the tire in order to make it fit. So what I'm going to do is I've marked off right there that I need to bring this in this far to have enough sway room in between. So I'm going to bring it in and recenter to this hole here, weld it in place, plate it, and then go from there. So We're going to redo that and recenter it because I like the idea of running these truck tires on here. This particular size around here in Maine is a dime a dozen, and it's easy to get chains for, so we're going to stick with it. Well, what do you think? Did it revitalize it like they say in the advertisement?
Mm-hmm.
It did.
It takes a lot of work.
So John had to spray it down 3 times in order to be able to get it to come back to shine. And in his defense, it had like mold and stuff growing down this side, which tends to deface it. That's why you can see a definite difference. You can see where the mold line was versus non. So it is what it is. But I would say that product gets an A-OK rating as far as we're concerned. What do you think, John?
Yep. I like these hats.
You like the hats?
Yeah.
You want to say thank you to Super Clean?
Thank you, Super Clean.
Good old Hobart 140, still kicking like a mule. Had it a good solid 9 years, I believe, at this point. Going good. You know what? Help if I put the kill switch in the on position.
You really need to stop killing your machines.
Alright, so it's not perfect. It needs a little bit of work. The carburetor's got some issues. These Briggs & Stratton Opies are notorious for stupid things. I'll pull the carb bowl, clean it. We'll go from there. But yeah, I think it should plow the driveway pretty good. That'll be the next video you see, is getting plow gear put on it.
Good job. Good job.
And I think the bolt that was holding the seat down came loose. Yeah, that's helpful. Well.
Another project for you to work on.
Oh, the washer. I got the washers on the wrong direction, so it didn't...
Oh, jeez.
Okay, well, we'll fix that.